All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Flexo for People webinar. The last webinar was on people analytics. Today we will zoom in on a specific customer case. And for this, we have a special guest in our Flexo webinar studio. Welcome, Sandro Flamet, Head of Global Payroll, HR Services, and HRIS at Galapagos.
Thank you, Stan.
Many of you will have probably heard about the enormous growth Galapagos has been going through, and with this enormous growth comes, of course, a very interesting HR case, which we will be running through today with you. Now, before getting started, a few practicalities. Just a second until the presentation moves on with this. Here we go. Questions, we will definitely be taking questions during the session or at the end of the session, but you can submit your questions during the session through the chat box, the question mark in the corner of the screen. We will monitor those and at the end handle them as much as possible. I hope you have selected the right browser so you can hear and see us very well. The session will also be recorded and distributed afterwards. So let me quickly talk you through the storyline of today's session. In a minute, Sandro will talk us through Galapagos, the business context of the company, and then the HR case. Then next, we will zoom in on the project scope and the challenges we had to cope with, and then we will, or I will take you through the project approach we took to cope with those challenges. Well, to bring you out an authentic case, we will, of course, also zoom in on the lessons learned. Not everything goes as a dream, of course. And we will also zoom in on change management, which is a very important differentiator in a project like this. During the preparation, Sandro spontaneously said, I think half of the effort put in change management was at least as important as the effort put into the project itself. I think that's definitely not an understatement, and we will zoom in on that specific effort taken by the Galapagos team on change management. And then we'll look into how the story at Galapagos will continue after completion of the project. Quick introduction. Maybe first a few words about Flexo for those who would not know us very well yet. We are one of the most important SAP partners in Belgium, but also have an office in Austria and last year opened an office in the Netherlands. We are, or Flexo for People is the HR competence center within Flexo, focusing on HR technology and innovation and all kinds of HR transformation trajectories. Myself, Stan, I'm a project manager, also doing some HR consultancy within Flexo. And I was, for this project, the project lead, working closely with the HRIS team Sandro is leading, with the Galapagos HR business representatives, of course. And then the Flexo team supporting this project was about 7 key consultants and at least another 7 people contributing in expert mode at some point in the project. All right, Sandro, I'll let you introduce yourself and then get kicked off with the Galapagos story.
Thank you very much, Stan. Thank you for being here and being able to explain our successful case we had last year. First of all, I'm Sandro Flamet. I'm head of payroll of HRIS and HR services within Galapagos. But first, let me introduce my organization to you, who we are as a company and what drives us. We at Galapagos, we are a biotechnical company, and our aim is, first of all, to improve the lives of patients with unmet medical needs. So we invent medicine. Today, millions of people have no hope of changing the course of the disease they suffer from. And we at Galapagos, we are working to change this by using our scientific knowledge, our partnerships, and our passion to make the difference. We are different to other biotechnical companies in the way we discover, how we discover medicines. It's through our target discovery platform. Everything we do is in our spirit of daring and the ability to challenge ourselves without fear of failure. And that's an important value in our company that is with every employee present. At the same time, we are driven by a tireless need to find medicines that will meet the unmet needs of patients. As we work today towards this goal, we make a number of promises. And the first promise we make is that we want to improve lives. It's not like we want to get rid of the symptoms of a disease, but we really want to improve the life of our patients. So that's the first promise we make. And all this we do based on our 4 core values, being, first of all, acting as a pioneer. What we do has not been done before, so we come to places where nobody has been before. Secondly, we positively embrace change, and that's something in such a project that helped us, of course, to do the change. Third, we are challenging ourselves, and by doing this, we raise the bar constantly. So we aim to go further than we are currently at, and fundamentally, as a team, we want to make it happen. That's also one of the slogans of Galapagos: "Make it happen," and this through science and again to improve the lives of our patients. Now, going to the business and the HR content, we come to the HR value proposition. So we have embarked on a journey to make Galapagos a cool place to work by offering unparalleled employee experience. At HR, we employ a strategy that drives excellence in performance, in high impact corporate culture, that create business value and delivers meaningful employee experience. There are some key pillars that fuel our actions and our approach, and it spans through the employee life cycle. So from the moment people come on board until the moment that eventually they leave the company. Being an employer of choice is important to us, and it's important to attract talent. And once they join, we look on how we can accelerate time to impact, or what they call time to production. Now, our ability to right-size rewards and benefits, enabling personalized talent experience, they are critical for our success. And for leadership teams in the business, we need to formulate and enable people analytics while continuously learning our processes or leaning our processes. And this is not an end of the journey, of course. This is only the beginning. But the needs of our organization and our employees constantly change. So we need to continue to focus on delivering the right employee experience and organizational needs. And this is only possible when we have a reliable HR system that is credible, that is there is an ability to scale the things, and very importantly, while offering seamless user experience. Now, how did we do it? We went to the business. We reached out to our colleagues and understood their needs. We asked what they wanted from an HR system. And that resulted in 2 big buckets. On one hand, the leadership, on the other hand, the employees. You will notice in this slide that the needs of the organization, or what is expected from us as an HR, are very strategic in nature. Case alignment between people and the business strategy. So leveraging data to offer actionable insights. An important one, and to continuously engage and build on our talents. Now, for our employees, they are spread over many countries, both in the US and the European Union. and they clearly need one place to go to when it comes to performance and development.
Yeah.
Case of flexibility and work-life balance pretty much stops this. In addition to doing work that generates the requisite business impact, and if we need to deliver all these asks, we need to have the right processes, the right procedures, of course, the way of working, and importantly, a system that can save us sleepless nights.
Yes. Yeah.
Starting line, we started from 4 major areas: organization, user experience, and then processes and data and systems. Our organization has grown through several years of exponential growth in workforce. From 2016 to 2020, we first had 2 years of a 25% increase in workforce,
okay.
then followed by 2 other years of 50% in growth workforce. So by the end of 2016, we were 370 employees.
All right.
At the end of last year, we were over 1,300. So it's an impressive growth,
yeah.
But it also needs growth in your processes and how you deal with things. Another important thing is the user experience. Our data, and it's normal for a small company, it was distributed over different, mostly legacy systems, often in-house developed SharePoint applications, which resulted for the employees and for line management that they required multiple systems for onboarding, for applying for holidays,
yeah.
For hiring a new colleague. Now, from a process and data point of view, different systems always create a challenge to keep all data in line.
Yes.
Which resulted for the administration in double, sometimes triple data input, and also resulted in a reporting ask that was either hard to meet, was being delivered with delay, or it was very challenging to get the right information into the reporting. And if you would have the right information, the delay that was necessary in order to get this reporting done was unacceptable.
Yeah.
So and then we come to the systems, the lack of integration, and because of the limited flexibility, also resulted in the fact that we couldn't meet the business expectations, taking into account this growth of our organization.
Yeah. All right, very clear. How many countries is Galapagos active in currently?
Currently, we are in 10 countries, but like this year, we are expanding in at least 6 additional ones.
All right. Okay.
So we are constantly growing.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So thanks, Sandro, for explaining this context. Very challenging. So let's go into the project scope. We decided on together and the challenges coming with that. The project scope was pretty large. We wanted to touch the entire employee experience within a year's project time. We had a kickoff meeting. I think, imagine 40 to 50 people together in one room. January 16th last year, January 4th this year, we went live with a series of SuccesFactors modules. First of all, we started with Employee Central, the basic model, binding all the others together. We added recruitment and onboarding, compensation, and then finally also goals and performance. Implementation was kicked off, I think, in June last year. So pretty big scope. Was at the start very overwhelming for our core teams to get everything organized, but pretty soon also for the rest of the Galapagos HR team. I remember the last months when we went through testing. I think we run through like, or you as a Galapagos team run through like 2,500 different test scenarios. So pretty challenging to get all that work done within a year. So big bang approach. There was also some complexity in the project, of course. We had to come to a real integrated landscape, and therefore we built some system connections. First of all, there was the connection with the SAP S/4HANA Finance platform, feeding employee data and absences. But then another one was the SuccesFactors extension we decided to implement, and that's actually an excellent illustration of what you mentioned as one of the core values, being innovative, positive about adventure. This extension was a nice example of a very innovative thing to do. Actually, the extension is a Flexo-built piece of software on the SAP Cloud platform, as the onboarding module today doesn't offer functionality for contingent workers. This extension was built and then enhanced for Galapagos to allow managers to initiate a request for a contingent worker, allow the contingent worker to put in some basic data, and that data is then being routed within the organization to trigger delivery of a PC, installation of a software profile, information to facilities. So we, I think, started this implementation, so we're mid in the project, which was a adventurous thing to do, but it came to a good end. And then we also added some integrations to SharePoint for Active Directory, feeding data to TracksAll, the fleet tool, and then SD Connect was another integration put in place. So quite complex scope. And then the third most important project challenge, I couldn't explain it better than with this picture. We sometimes had the feeling that we were fixing a plane which was still in flight. As you mentioned, the requirements, the desires from both the organization as the employees are constantly changing. So that's really what has been happening and will be happening at Galapagos for quite some time still. So we sometimes had to be very flexible with the project plan, add some additional process design sessions to allow the business to get aligned, add some more time to wait for an important decision point, an important meeting. So very challenging to align the project pace with the alignment, which has to be done within the business. So then let's look at how we approached this project to deal with those challenges. A key differentiator was the fit to standard approach. So actually, we used the Flexo accelerators as a starting point to speed up the implementation. Without it, we would probably not have managed to go through an entire blueprinting process and deliver a complete customer configured system. So you can compare the accelerator with a standard or a best practice based solution, which is then checked, enhanced for the specific customer requirements. Also comes with a fixed iterative methodology to validate and to enhance. I think honestly, that was the starting point. We did do still a lot of modification to the standard, but it's made it possible to achieve that much in 1 year. So that was definitely a key differentiator. Something else we did was make sure we had some additional resources lined up to help Galapagos at the right point to focus on, for example, testing, while also data migration had to be done. We could take over a lot of the data migration work, allowing Galapagos to focus on the testing part. Our consultants also did some additional facilitation in process design. And now we had also some technical specialists lined up to help with integrations with identity management, single sign-on, that kind of things. And then some other project management practices really were very important. Galapagos decided to work for the scope of 10 countries with a global template, meaning that we implemented a global data model with minimal exceptions for specific countries. That required quite some diplomacy, I think, from the Galapagos project management and the leadership to find the synergies, but also get to important compromises. I also mentioned already the agile project management. We had to do a lot of planning, replanning, agenda magic for project managers and for the project team. An example was the additional time we decided to take to go through UAT and move the technical go live from, I think, December 1st to somewhere December 20th. So that was replanning, but important to do that to make sure the business could sufficiently contribute to end-to-end testing, to user acceptance testing. Safeguarding the project scope and the timing was definitely also a challenge. There is, of course, always modification you can do to a software as a service model, but there are limitations to what you can do within 1 year. So we went for a reliable solution going live in January, but then also we agreed on an approved list of improvements to do after go live. That's the reality of this kind of an implementation. And then allocating and aligning resources, that was, of course, very challenging as we had a lot to do within 1 year, both at Galapagos side as well as Flexo side, of course. For those 2,500 test scenarios, I think we took like 900 hours of Galapagos time. I think at the time of our go live celebration, that celebration as such was the 425th meeting on the Galapagos project in my schedule. So there was probably the same numbers still happening at the Galapagos site. So yeah, resources and agendas were really a big challenge. All right, but yeah, in every project is unique, of course. We always learn things, so let's focus on the lessons learned for a minute, and also on change management, because there are some interesting, inspiring things to share there as well.
Okay, lessons learned. Very much like this slide, because it tells you that success is not always what you see when an employee fills in an application for leave. It doesn't always see what's underneath, what databases are being used in order to be able to present such a thing.
Yeah.
And perspective matters. What you always see and experience is not always what others see, but it really does matter. And since as a team, we want to offer the best in class for our employees and our leadership together. So we mean business, but employee centric. So now how we made it happen. We have a number of points that we kept in the back of our head as important things. First of all, is before you start, set your success story. What will be at the go live a successful implementation? So important there is how to define the user experience goals. What do users want to have from a system? Now, pre-planning and UAT, very important. Like you just said, Stan, the number of tests scenarios that we have run through is enormous.
Definitely.
But it also prevents you from having issues in the go live. Another one, an important one, is ongoing and transparent reports to the stakeholders, so that you keep the process or the project alive during the implementation phase. Then, of course, train. An important one is to do the training only when required. So don't train 2 months before a go live, but really at the go live, and do it exclusively for a specific audience. So we organized trainings for line management, trainings for employees, for the different HR departments. Communication is linked to this, of course. So we organized blogs, we did communication via Yammer, we sent emails, of course, we set up videos. There is another one that says end user support. We organized pit stop sessions with every go live. So we had a little bit of phased go live, starting with Employee Central and onboarding in January, February with performance and goals, and in March with compensation. And every time we organized pit stop sessions where people from HRIS were present to answer questions of end users live. Capture issues is also an important one. Try to get them before the go live, and try to fix them. You try to do it as much as possible, but we also experienced some issues after the go live. But then again, capture them and fix them. Don't let them continue. What we did is we developed a dedicated user experience portal where end users can go to. They have a frequently asked questions list where they get information. All the videos we made explaining the different actions in the system are also stored there. And we also have lists of process steps, walkthroughs available for end users when they need it. From a system point of view, avoid too much of customizations. We very much appreciated your way of working, so that we didn't have to start from a blank page. But then customization for us was limited to the extension for contingent workers. But for the rest, we did no customizations to the software itself. Our focus, of course, is the process. The software, SuccesFactors, is helping our processes going, moving on right now. And like you said, the communication, it's 50% of the project, and we put a lot of effort in communication. Started with broad communication 4 months before the go live, and continued, and we are still continuing to doing communication. As an example, I want to show you a video we prepared. This was in around mid-December. Just to communicate to our employees that there is something new was coming.
All right, let's have a look at that video together. Very nice. Also good to see some of the end results, the screenshots of the system.
It's a very nice example, and I'm really proud of what our communication team has produced during this phase. Another example on the next slide is you see there on the left a screenshot from our user experience center.
Yeah.
And so that's the one place to go for SuccessFactors questions, where people can find videos on how to hire a new employee,
Yeah.
or how to hire a contractor. On the right hand, you see an example from the pit stops we organized.
Yeah.
So at different moments, HRS team members were available there.
Mm-hmm.
We received questions, and they were immediately answered in breakout rooms.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was an immediate support for the employees.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Sandro. A few additional lessons learned from a Flexo perspective. Well, the fit to standard approach, definitely we discussed it, was a key to timely success. Sandro also mentioned the need for minimize the customization, keep close to the standard. Well, we did experience that that's not so easy to sell to everyone. Within the project team, we of course knew that that we should avoid any customization, but yeah, that's really a message which has to be carried out throughout the organization towards senior leadership as well, to make sure everyone understands that it's really important. I think we recently had an example of the compensation process where for the roll-up and the approval, the system follows the organizational hierarchy. Well, in a fast-moving, fastly changing organization as Galapagos, sometimes those approval lines don't follow the hierarchical structure. Then we had to say, okay, for this year, it will be that kind of thing will have to be managed outside of the system. We'll fix it for next year, but that's the challenge of the keep close to the standard mindset. Teamwork at its best. I think we had a really good fit culturally, I think, between the two teams. A lot had to be done in 1 year, and both teams had to be really demanding towards each other, which was challenging. But I think what saved us there was a really open communication line, despite the fact that I don't think we can underestimate that we had to work remotely as from March. I don't think we ever experienced the bad effect from that remote working. We kept that communication open, and that I think that's a great achievement for both teams. You mentioned training. I would add testing. There was a lot of testing done. We added more time in the plan to do additional testing. But even then, you see that some scenarios were missed. You have to really be creative in test scenarios. An example we ran into was, for example, a rehire, which actually rejoined the company before leaving, actually. It happens, and well, if you haven't tested it, then it might cause an error or some unclarity at the start of the project. So don't save time on testing. I think linked to that, involving internal stakeholders as early as possible, as much as possible, is definitely also important, also in testing. And as you said, keep your eye on the end goal, set your priorities, make sure you achieve what the project was started for. So I don't know about you, Sandro. I would definitely immediately do another project with you guys. How did you experience the collaboration with the Flexo team?
Well, it's true, Stan, and what I really enjoyed, and this is something you need to make this a success, is not act like a client supplier in such a process, but go there in a sort of a partnership. And that's, I think, was the key to our success. We knew each other's strengths, and we used them in order to get the team to a higher level. Was for me very important. I experienced Flexo and your team as well versed with SuccessFactors, which helped us a great deal with your expertise, your knowledge of the process, and of course with the tool. The agile, iterative way of working is something that gives you an advanced start, of course.
Yeah,
you don't have to start from a blank page. And I experienced Flexo as a reliable partner. Trust was present, and this is also the key to make such a project a success.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for those nice words. Now the project is there. There is a reliable system. There are, of course, some improvements to do. We're still working on, but what's next on the HR horizon?
Like I already said, we're on a journey. This is not the end step. It's only the beginning for some.
Yeah.
We have a big ask from the business for people analytics. That's something that we start this year. See where we can integrate artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Learning is still an unmet need for the Galapagos HR.
Yeah.
We have still some integrations to be done, Active Directory, security, facilities, access controls, and these things. We would like to link a document management system where we can keep all the employee documentation also linked to SuccesFactors.
Everything at one place.
Yeah, correct. And we will also want to use this system to service or to increase the service level of HRIS, maybe via chatbot. Possibilities are almost endless, I think.
Okay, well, you remain ambitious. Nice to hear. All right, I think that concludes our story, the story we had prepared for you all today. But we definitely would like to look into some questions which came from the audience. What did we get in terms of questions? And you can, of course, still send questions. We'll do our best to answer as many as possible. And also, we'll share, I think, the last slide of this presentation are my contact details. So in case you have the need to get in touch, please don't hesitate. And then we'll set up something, one-on-one or with your company specifically to dive into specific items. Okay, we have a question. What would you do differently? Anything from Galapagos side, Sander, you would approach differently?
I think we already touched it during the presentation. I think we have done a right path. What we could have done is maybe start a little earlier. When I see the planning, we started it with workshops beginning of March. I think if we could start 2 months earlier, we would have in the initial phase a little bit more time to get this into the organization. But for when I look at the 10 months we did, it was not at one point that we had short of time.
No.
Well, I think we had a good approach. There's not too much things that we could avoid.
From a Flexo perspective, I would, or maybe from my project management perspective, I would maybe try to keep a bit more to the planning, but well, that's always the challenge, and I think the business context there was really important to take into account. Maybe the involvement of internal stakeholders, we could have done maybe, so some more involvement at an earlier stage, but again, that's after the facts, of course. Another question we get is, did you also do payroll interfaces? Yeah, we touched on it briefly. So there was a connection put in place with SD Connect, the SD connection tool between SuccesFactors and local payroll systems, I think in 3 countries.
Yes, correct.
Belgium, Netherlands, France.
We're trying to get the interface up and running in France, the Netherlands, and Belgium. This is something that didn't make it until the go live on the 1st of January, and we're still working on it. It's a very hard nut to crack. Yes, we have 3 payroll interfaces.
Yeah. Okay. 2 additional questions. Yeah, we indeed had a project manager both at Flexo side as at Galapagos side. And actually, we really worked together really closely. We had at least 1 weekly formal touch point, but in the meantime, we had numbers, occasions, or numbers, connection points. For the Go Live event, I counted the number of emails we exchanged, and that was far over 2,000. So that was a really close connection. Another question, Sandro, is who was in the lead for change management?
Well, we had a communication team. At one point at the Go Live, were like 6 persons who were doing communications to the business, who were preparing the videos, preparing the pages, the one-pagers. So that's also one of my recommendations. To have enough people available for these things. And I want to repeat myself. Communication in this process was for me like 50% of the success. And 6 persons in our communication team.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it paid off.
And you only have one possibility to go live. And it's very important that at that moment the whole company is with it. Because if you get a little bit of friction at that point. So what we try to do is really prepare it up to the 1st of January, the communication, the training, the user experience center, so that everything is available for the employees.
Well, definitely compliments to that team as well. How did you gather the feedback from the employees? Did you have kind of structured way to get input from your employees?
Well, during the project, we had all the stakeholders. Employees are also stakeholders. They were in the workshops. They were always also asked on their requirements. Now, if you go as of the Go Live, we had of course the pit stop sessions where we had immediate feedback, and then for the rest, we had a ticketing system where we gathered all the feedback. Just saw whether it came from a specific area, so that we could react to that with the communications team immediately to add an additional training or add an additional information to our library. So it was HRIS who captured all the remarks.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure how the question is meant, but might also refer to what you mentioned in the beginning of the session, where you had the organizational needs for a new HR platform and then the individual.
Correct.
Was there a structured exercise behind that?
No, it took us about a year before we had a clear vision on what our scope was. And this scope was a combination of leadership and employees' input, and of course HR. But the needs from the employees was also captured before we started.
And how did you do that, please?
Info sessions.
Okay. All right. Okay. Another question, how did you handle the additional complexity to work in a highly regulated industry? For example, GMP requirements. You are in a validated environment, of course.
Correct. But SuccesFactors is not GXP, which was a very important one. There was one part, our integration with our SAP finance module, which was GXP. But for the rest, it was a little bit, let's say, standalone.
Indeed.
Of course, SuccesFactors is GDPR compliant, is SOX compliant, all these things. Of course, very important for us.
And I remember at the start of the project, we sat together with the people from quality and the validation team to figure out to what extent we had to follow the validated approach. But then it was soon agreed indeed to keep SuccesFactors out of that scope, so that helps. All right. Do we have any more questions? Is the solution already known for a chatbot?
No. That's something that we're still on let's say, an extended go live. We did compensation the 1st of March, and we are finalizing our compensation process by the end of next week. And then as of Q2, Q3, we are going to look in these are going to be projects for the end of the year or for next year. First, try to land the SuccesFactors implementation.
And I guess the HRS team would love to have a little break as well after this one intense year. Okay, I think we are at our time limit, so time to wrap up. Here we go. Just something else to mention, if you are hungry for more, there is another webinar planned 4th of May, which is around SAP Concur, travel and expense management. There we will discuss the Beaulieu case. So know that in your agenda, everyone who is in HR or in finance looking for a solution to streamline travel and expense processes. So thank you very much to join us today. Thank you, Sandra, for being here.
Thank you, Stan. It was a pleasure.
Studio. If there are any additional questions, please do reach out to us through this email address. Thank you very much, and hope to see you for the next Flexo for People webinar. Bye-bye.